Hello and welcome to the Everyday Hair Colorist podcast number 3. Today's special guest is Siobhan Jones, who's gone from working for a massive corporation to opening up her own boutique salon. And I'd like to welcome Siobhan Jones to the table.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great, Siobhan. Thanks for coming in today.
Oh my God, it's a pleasure.
I know, we're sat here with our glasses of water.
Glasses of water. We're so clean, aren't we?
We're so clean.
And hydrated.
And hydrated, indeed. So, you and I are both super commercial.
Sure.
Well, I mean, we've sometimes even been mocked for it, really.
Yes, but we took it on the chin, didn't we?
Always took it on the chin. But the reality, of course, is that the everyday colorist working behind the chair really needs relatable people to look to for inspiration and for hair color ideas. And I'd been thinking about it for a while doing this podcast, and you were definitely on my list to bring to the table. So for the audience who might not know you, you had a massive career with a really large chain of salons. What was your role in there?
So I basically started with Headmasters, which is a large salon group, and my role started off as being part of the art team, and then I quickly became like the head of colour for the brand. The brand, for those of you that don't know, like their whole ethos is actually commercial wearable colour, commercial wearable hair, and that was something when I first joined the company that really like lured me into them, purely because there wasn't really that many salon groups on the market at the time that were offering services and imagery for clients. And for me, my taste, I love that. I love creating something that I know will make someone look more beautiful, and making them appear better, and making them look more alluring. So for me, it was like it was a big challenge to be able to have to work within an industry that was full of, undercuts and, bold colours and avant-garde hair, which is, don't get me wrong, it's fantastic in its own right, but it wasn't something that kind of drew me in. So my challenge, as the role as head of colour for Headmasters, was to not only create something that I loved and the clients loved, but try to excite the colourists with something similar. Yeah.
Well, absolutely. And I think that if you look back at the last decade, really, I mean, it's sort of 2010. I'm not saying 2010 because that's when I came back to the UK. But from sort of 2010 onwards, it really has been the decade of the colourist, hasn't it?
It really has.
And there's been this sort of cultural shift within the industry, and that it's been recognised that the way in which you can lure people back into the salon is to sell stuff that people want to wear.
Totally, 100%. So
you've just broken out on your own, haven't you?
I have.
Gone.
Yes, it's just happened.
Independent, setting up your own salon. Tell me a little bit about that.
So the whole idea is that I wanted to create a brand, again, that was kind of targeting the consumer, but I wanted to target not only, the way that we did the hair, but I wanted to create something that was more personable in itself as well. So I created a small boutique salon, which has a smaller number of chairs, only 5, but then the whole ethos around it is that we focus on the consultation. So I've actually created a consultation area, which I don't know if those of you that may have seen, that's the place that gets the imagery done the most. It's the kind of Instagrammable area.
Absolutely. I mean, and that has to be a huge...
That it really does. And that, for me, has not only, it's been free publicity for me. So every time a client comes in, they sit in this Instagrammable area, which involves a swing, a plush, like pink.
A swing?
Yeah, a swing.
It's very Instagram.
I mean, yes, it is. It's covered in roses, and it's, got these really fantastic coffee table books. And it just looks really Instagram beautiful and fun. But that is where we then do our consultations. The consultations are done in this area purely because we want people to feel like they're at home. Because I've found that often a client will come in, they'll sit in a chair in the salon, and then they get told, or asked, "What are we doing today?" Well, just in that accent. I don't know why that accent happens. What are we doing today?
That angry sort of accent, as if, go away, you're not doing me a favour. I mean, that immediately sets off alarm bells, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So that is a brilliant segue into the first statement, really, which we all have heard, especially with our time at L'Oreal. It was a huge conversation. And that is that 97 out of 100 hairdressers feel like they give a consultation, but unfortunately only 3% of clients feel they get one.
That's ridiculous, isn't it?
It's such a disconnect, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, in my last podcast, if you haven't caught it, I talk about how I do a consultation, and it has to be incredibly personal and intimate, and also incredibly safe.
Yeah,
because at that time, people bring so much to the table, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
How do you make people feel safe?
Well, as I mentioned, having a nice area to sit in, I think is good. But I think also, making the client aware that it's not just about the colour that you're doing. It's actually about them and you getting to know them. So often, I think what I would often do in a consultation kind of zone is I wouldn't start with what we're doing today. It would be more about kind of, questions about their daily life, where they've been, what they've been up to, and just kind of start to kind of ease them in.
Absolutely.
So, how's your day been? Could be a nice starting point.
Absolutely.
That's,
Unless it's been terrible and they start venting.
Unless it's been terrible, yeah, exactly. Then you move on swiftly. If they've got the tube, then don't ask them anything. Don't bother, I can move on. And then from there, then you start to kind of see and feel the client start to warm up a little bit. And then I think it's the time to start talking about what you're going to be doing with the hair.
Yes.
And what the plan is.
Yes.
Because people do need to warm up. Believe it or not, I think this is quite a funny thing to think about, but, we are hairdressers. We work in a salon. We work surrounding the hair community. So we live, breathe, and we are consumed by hair.
Absolutely, yes, definitely.
Believe it or not, clients that aren't hairdressers and aren't in a hair community don't live, breathe, and hair and aren't consumed by hair. They're actually living their daily lives. And yes, they are coming to get their hair done, but they're not thinking about it every single second of the day.
Well, if they did, I think that's alarm bells ringing too, isn't it? Because then it's like, that's going to be maybe possibly a difficult client.
Totally. And so what I mean by that is, when we then ask them what we're going to be doing today, they haven't been thinking about it every single second or every single moment. They actually probably have just got there and then gone, what? I don't know. Let's think about this.
One of the ways I kind of try and counteract that is that I sort of instruct the reception team to make sure that clients know to bring images in with them.
Fantastic,
and to do their homework.
Brilliant.
And I talk about it probably the same way as you really, as in a journey. And although some people sort of dismiss that, I think that it really is a journey when it's a personal relationship with someone, isn't it? And that they have to gain your trust.
Of course,
and you have to gain their trust, rather.
Yeah.
And it is not always sort of one stop, is it? It could be 2 or 3, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
No, it really is. And I think the journey is probably the most important thing, because so many clients, and I have it, they use Instagram to find their hairstylist or their colorist, and they see an image that that person has created and they go, oh, I just want that right now. And I think that most of the time, probably 99.9% of the time, it's maybe not possible to get exactly that within one appointment, unless they're almost there already, or they're already on that journey.
A few minor adjustments.
Exactly, that that can happen. So I think talking about a journey is really important, and not just the journey that they're on now, but maybe a future journey that they may want to go on.
Absolutely.
Because I think people are really enticed by change at the minute. Be it, as you said, a few minor adjustments. I think people do like the idea of feeling like their hair's being tweaked and kind of, adjusted each and every appointment, rather than just sticking with the same thing.
And it really is, though, isn't it? Because I think that if you look at it in terms of, we used to sort of say change it for spring and summer, and then change it sort of for fall or winter, autumn. Sorry, I'm in England. Autumn.
Yeah.
But the reality is that every single time somebody comes in, we're doing a little bit of corrective work on there with all the other factors that have gone on outside of our control.
Yeah.
And that it's always changing and evolving, because fashion is changing and evolving, isn't it? Fascinating start. So 1 million women would return to the salon if we could get their shade right. And what I really wanted to talk to you today is about the humble tint, the all over global application.
Yeah.
I think so often it is perceived by the public as there's just slapping it on. And that has to be an issue with us as technicians, not necessarily you and me or many of you listening, but somewhere along the line, someone's perceived as just throwing a tint on. And a client equates that with going into Boots or, Superdrug or whatever it is, and picking up a box and slapping that box on at home. There seems to be no skill set involved in it. And the other day, somebody was talking to me, and it was somebody in the hairdressing industry, and they said, well, that's just a tint. And I'm like, it's never just a tint, because that's what frightens me.
Yeah.
So I've got some stats for you.
Okay.
And it's kind of scary, but I thought that if we talk about those, we can then talk about how we approach tints differently, how maybe we could help other people. And for those of you listening, of course, it'd be great to hear how you approach it. So here we go with the stats. So 8 out of 10 women have coloured their hair at least once in their life in the UK, which is quite a fascinating amount of people, isn't it?
Yeah. That's good, isn't it?
It is good, absolutely. It's good for us.
It's good for us, definitely. And I think, there was a period where the focus was on trying to get those people that don't colour their hair to colour their hair. Obviously, we want to still do that, but I mean, it's good to know that people have thought about it and they desire colouring their hair. They
do desire colouring their hair, and I think that recently some of the stats out there are saying that people are coming back to the salon because, as I said earlier, it is the decade of the colourist, and it's a really exciting time to be a colourist rather than a cutter. And for you cutters out there, I'm really sorry about that, but colouring has its time, its moment.
I do feel empowered.
They feel so empowered. But so 2 in 3 people colour their hair at home.
Right.
And so when you look at the split on that, 47% of people colour their hair at home, of the ones that colour their hair.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, oh gosh, it's so disappointing that people feel that they have to, that they can do it at home. They don't see a value in coming to us. And that could be monetary, but that also could be the experiential piece, couldn't it? And we talked about Instagram and experiential a little bit earlier with your salon, and we'll come back to that. But then of that, the rest of that split, 25% do their colour in the salon and only in the salon. So we're sort of safe there with that 25%. But it's a very small slice of the pie, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's across all price points as well. So we're not just talking super high end, we're also talking at the entry level as well. Then you've got this 8% that have hairdressers that come to their house and do their hair at home. So that could be mobile hairdressers, that could be hairdressers that possibly work in a salon and are doing clients on the side, which I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah.
But if you're a mobile hairdresser and that's your business, I'm a great fan of that because that's much more professional. They don't go in and do the colour and then leave the client with the tint on and go off to the next one, which is horrific. And then you've got this 20% that go to the salon, but also do their hair at home. So if we're talking about global applications, that we call this 20% mixers. And they obviously see this idea that they can replicate what's done in the salon at home. And in fact, this weekend there was an article in the Daily Mail and I was talking and they were like, yeah, we do it at home. And the comments were horrific. But how do you think, how do you intend to do that in your new salon? How do you intend to speak to that client, the mixer?
Well, the mixer, I think for me, the reason you've got to first think about why are they doing that?
Yes.
Okay, so, why are they coming into the salon sometimes and then choosing not to come in the other times?
Well, I think it's because basically it's same as last time, which is what the hairdresser says. And, guys, I think we've probably all maybe said that somewhere along the line, but I think it's not cool at all. And then it's mix it up somewhere and then come on and slap it on, and there's been no thought process in it. How do you feel about it?
So, I mean, our biggest thing at the minute, as I mentioned, so in my new salon, Rose and Wild Hair, our big thing is that we want to be more personable with the client and create, we're kind of selling ourselves as the salon that listens because we want to spend a lot of time listening to the client's needs. So that would mean, yes, sometimes it may feel like it's similar to the time before or, as the time before, so same again, but there will always be a slight change that's needed.
Absolutely.
Be it that you're taking the colour all the way through from root to tip. Are you, weaving pieces out and taking it through? Are you using more than one shade or 2 shades or 3 shades to take it through? Are you using different colors within it? Are you using different brands within it? Are you leaving it on for different amounts of time? There are so many different changes that you can make, even if the same ultimate result is the same.
Or similar.
Or similar, yeah.
Similar, yeah.
So I would make sure that when I'm speaking with my client, I'm not only going, do you like your hair now? I'd say, is there anything that you find that you maybe want to change a little bit? Or is there, and if they're not seeing it, then I then start to look at it myself. I'm a big advocate for like creating a colour that works well with the style and the haircut and the way that they're working their hair. And often, as we know, colour will fade. Sometimes it fades in a nice way.
Sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes it doesn't, yeah.
Exactly. I'm a huge fan of the weaving pieces through and not pulling it all the way through, because I personally, unless it's one of those kind of colours that becomes a statement colour, I like a lot of variation in it. And so I'm always encouraging people to kind of keep that natural feel to it. But I do worry that, and I've seen it, I've seen people just apply a tint and they've got that big ass pro tip brush and it's sort of on and they're rinsed and you've got a line. It's like, what happened there in that communication level? And I personally think that's where it suddenly starts going wrong. Yeah. That this is when people think, right, that's it. I'm off to Boots. Yeah. I'm off to Superdrug.
I'm doing it. Yeah. I think, it's making clients aware. Definitely the difference of product that we use in Salon is, it's high end. We don't only just choose the color that we're using. We choose the peroxides that we're using as well. Yes. Which generally, if you buy that from a supermarket, you're not going to be able to get that, which will often then mean that they're using high peroxides, which then will cause sensitivity to the hair, which then will cause color fade, which then actually is putting them in a more difficult situation than it would be in the salon. Yeah. If they're not aware that that's what's happening, then they will just assume that that's the norm. But, we need to make sure we let them know.
Then, are you saying that we as an industry don't talk about what we're doing and should be actually speaking to the reason we're doing this, the reason we're doing that, instead of just sat there talking about our weekend, how are you doing, where are you going, actually start communicating about the different levels of developer, because there's a fine line, isn't there, between turning someone off with the super technical, and we know that the language we speak to a client in is different language to how we speak to each other in the dispensary.
Definitely,
but the communication aspect of talking to a client about, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Do you think that should be the emphasis of the conversation?
It's so important. And as you said, we don't need to be too technical, but they do want to know what you're kind of doing. So I don't need to say, oh, yes, I'm using this exact vol, but I might just say I'm using a slightly softer, peroxide on the ends, to ensure that we're not oversensitizing the hair. Yeah. That in itself is enough for a client to understand and know that you're doing that little bit extra for them. One of the key things I noticed that happens with people that have full head colours, so tints, is they always find that their hair colour fades off brassy. And for me, that's a really good way of making sure they keep coming into the salon, because we can do everything in our power to ensure that we stop that from happening by the use of different peroxides.
Pulling 20 volt through the ends, I'm afraid you're going to start revealing some brassy tones, aren't you?
That
really?
might happen. And until that becomes the new trend.
Yes, exactly. Warm ends for a brunette, not in the UK, I don't think. Cool. That's really, really cool. So this humble tint thing, we find that blondes trust us.
Yeah.
It's something like 57% of we over-index in blondes. It's such this massive number. And I kind of feel that's because blondes come in they have their highlights, they have this, they have that, and we do all these different services for blondes, so we would get to be blonde focused. But what about all the brunettes out there? We under-index in brunettes. The colour split is 33% of brunettes come to the salon. And it sort of worries me because I love a brunette.
Yeah.
I was one until I went platinum. No, actually, until I went grey. But I love a brunette. And I think there's so many different things you can do with a brunette colour to make them fresh. How do you feel about brunettes?
Brunettes are gorgeous. I mean, they're they are the ones that have the shiny hair, the glossy hair, the uber luxurious looking hair. So we do.
They're all words that clients love to hear.
They love to hear those words.
Yeah.
And it's easy to achieve those things for a colorist. on a brunette. So, you know, we do need to make sure that we are kind of focusing our attention on them. I think probably one of the issues can be because I know, you know, whenever I've seen a really bad disaster, home hair color disaster, it will be someone that's tried to do an at-home balayage or someone that's tried to do their own highlights.
Well, we have seen people advertising that, but we won't talk about that, will we?
Let's not talk about it right now. We'll talk about it in a bit. Episode 3. But whereas a brunette, yes, they can be an at-home disaster, but it's not as like vile to look at when you look at a brunette that's been done at home. And although it's bad, it doesn't scream at you that it's bad. You kind of have to look at it to then see, that it's, you know, the hair's sensitized, it's, you know, bad fading, it's looking brassy, the tones aren't working, it doesn't suit the skin tone.
Most of the brunettes that come to me that have been doing it at home, if they come to me, it's gone brassy all the way through, which and warm, too red, too orange, all of that. And the other thing that I noticed of brunettes who come to me and they've been somewhere else, they're always too dark around the hairline.
Yes,
it's like,
definitely, yeah.
What are people doing out there? For me,
it's easy to reach, isn't it?
Well,
hairline.
I think that maybe it goes on first. I never do a hairline first.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear people in our community saying that they do it first because it's resistant, but I kind of feel that is a slightly old-fashioned approach.
Yeah, the hair's it's extremely fine there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, so you see a client sees a little bit of regrowth and says, "Oh, my colour hasn't taken." That's an education thing, isn't it? Because you're only going to get 4 weeks out of it, and there's going to be a regrowth line on that.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah.
If it's a high percentage of white hair. So I always try and go up half a shade to a shade lighter around the face.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm an advocate of that within the industry. And that immediately means that we've got 2 bowls in front of us. So suddenly that whole one bowl fits all doesn't work. What else do you do?
So I think definitely lots of bowls are really important because it's showing the client that we're not just putting one colour on and leaving it at that.
Right, and one colour means one box.
Exactly, which, you know, it's very rare that a client's going to go out and buy loads of boxes.
Well, no, because if you think about that, if you think, how much are these boxes of hair colour? Are they £7, something like that?
Yeah.
2 boxes is £14. And then if you were to run a demi through that, or for a glaze, that would be another box, that's £21. It starts getting up there to do all that faffing yourself, doesn't it?
No, it definitely does. And then from then, as I said, I would start looking at the actual haircut and the way that they style their hair. So I'd start looking at how I can not only influence, you know, face shape with the way that I place my tints.
Yes.
So, you know, by placing maybe a slightly lighter colour throughout the ends than I would on the roots, or maybe going deeper around the hairline, not the hairline as in right by the face, but kind of around the ears to give the illusion of width.
Absolutely, you start changing this. You can change a shape in a sort of an illusion with hair colour, can't you?
And I think that has a lot of power, because I think going back to what you were saying about cutters and colorists, a lot of clients that I have, and they might be just because they like having long hair, a lot of them don't like actually cutting their hair too much, but they like the idea of having more volume, or they like the idea of the hair looking more textured or layered, but without necessarily having the layer or necessarily having the thickness. So the fact that we can do that as colorists, we can make the hair do these things just with the way that we place our colour or our tint on is amazing. It's amazing. Absolutely.
It's brilliant. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
It is the decade of the colorist.
100%.
So brunettes and their hair colour, even though we under-index in them, we should really be encouraging brunettes to come to the salon. Brunettes, rich doesn't mean red to a brunette. It means what to you?
Rich just means the shine, it's the depth, it's it's multitonal. In, you know, when you look at it, you can see it's got so many layers of colour to it.
Yes.
It's not flat, it's not opaque, it's not dense, you know? So
brilliant.
That's how I see it. And when you say rich, then it doesn't mean, okay, I'm just going to pick a chocolate colour off and put that on. Because actually, yes, it's a lovely tone, but it's not the tone of everyone's dreams to have every single strand painted in it.
No.
And I think often when we go back to, you know, we were talking about consultation, like I would never do a consultation without using an image. And I know that you spoke about this earlier. And why that's so important to me is because when someone says brown, I then show them an image, and it's very rare that they'll pick out a picture of a colour that looks the same colour from root to tip, evenly spread everywhere.
Well, that's we teach everyone, don't we?
Yeah.
To get an even colour at school from root to tip, and there is an art form, and there is a skill set.
It's important. So you know what you need to do and the steps to do it. You're creating the foundation to your skill set, aren't you?
Absolutely. But the reality is that when somebody comes to you within the salon environment, that they don't want it even from root to tip, do they? They want some variation in there. They want it to look natural. I say that in inverted commas.
Yeah.
Because, of course, natural to one is not necessarily natural to another. But
so I found it quite funny. So I did the L'Oreal colour degree. I can't even remember, quite a while ago, maybe 10 years ago.
Right.
And when I did it, at that time, the trend was to have cut the same colour from root to tip, because it was, the trend within L'Oreal was we were going to do a tint, and it was about being really evenly spread with colour. Whereas now I've spoken to a lot of people that are doing the colour degree now, and they've even said that the way that it's taught is slightly different, in that you still learn how to do an even colour from root to tip, but the models that then come in aren't expecting that.
Don't want it.
They don't want it. So it makes it, it's kind of hard to do it actually. Yes. So it's really important to know the skill sets in order to achieve it, and the techniques, and how you would then base your mixing, etc. But actually what the clients are wanting, even when they're saying they want one brown color, when they come in and actually the consultation starts to come into play, it's very clear that isn't exactly what they want either.
Well, no, because it could end up looking like a wig really quickly, couldn't it?
Yeah.
I found that quite difficult, because I had spent so much of my career in the States, and they were in the States again super commercial, and I know that there was a lot of bashing about American hairdressers, but I don't think that's true. I mean, you only have to look at what's coming out of LA and on TV and everything, and that's the kind of images women want to look like celebrities.
Yeah.
But what I was always taught over there was to do permanent colour on the roots and then to do a demi on the ends, which is what I always do in the salon anyway. I never take anything all the way through. It's not my cup of tea at all. So what's really interesting for me is one of the things that I do, which isn't technically right. And we all know the difference between product company technical and commercial technical, don't we? Because we're always doing these, we work at a rapid pace.
Yes.
When you've got a line of clients and, your 12 o'clock's crying and your 1 o'clock's come early and your 9 o'clock from this morning has found one piece on the top of her head she doesn't like. If that's your kind of day, it's a disaster, isn't it? But we know what that's like.
And product brands, they do have to be... they do have to have rules there.
Of course they do. Otherwise it would be the Wild West, wouldn't it?
Chaos out there. God.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes it is chaos out there. And that's part of this podcast really, is to hopefully help smaller salons and independent people to maybe look at the ways that other people do things. And so it's really interesting to have you on here and the other guests I've got lined up talking about what they do. So with a root tint, for instance, and I do think the humble tint is the bread and butter of this industry in many ways. A lot of people want to cover their grey, even though there's a trend for letting it go naturally grey at the moment. The majority of people don't want to do that. They want to cover up their grey. So when I do a root tint, I always seem to do a mini root stretch these days. Yeah. And that there's no lines, no demarcation lines. So I really like to go in and sort of feather it down, sort of in a sort of teardrop shape, even if it's just a regular basic tint. It's no longer a basic tint. What do you do?
So one, I would be making sure that the brush that I'm using is of good quality. What I mean by that is I don't like anything where the brush is too wiry. So
no, I don't.
A tip where it will kind of flow, feather light as you apply it on the hair, purely because we don't want any lines, do we? So that's like fundamentally that's what we don't want. And if someone's coming in to get their regrowth done or do their full head tint every 4 to 6 weeks, if we're just layering it thickly with a wiry brush, that's going to give us the heaviest line we've ever seen. So
And probably build up with some bands in there as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Lovely.
But great if you love a colour change, so colour correction. So yeah, I would ensure that I was using a brush that had like soft feather-like tips that you could then sweep the tint from the root down.
Yeah.
Then I would be working with, generally I tend to work with either like a weaved type application where I then will melt through colours that mimic the root colour.
Yes.
Along with something else, perhaps. So, as you mentioned earlier, like a lot of brunettes generally don't like to be too warm unless they're looking for that warmer shade.
Yes, unless they're going into a copper
or something like that.
Yeah, an auburn or something.
But we know warmer shades will often shine more.
Yes.
So what I tend to do is I tend to use something more flat or neutral on the roots. And then I would freehand that through on areas. But then in between that, then I would maybe use like a richer or kind of more warmer brunette shade that's weaved through the ends in between all of that colour.
So a real nice variation in tone.
Exactly. And then that means we're getting that nice cool result from the majority of the brunette that we've chosen. But then we've then got a shade within there that will then really kind of help to hit the sunlight and give you a really nice intense shine.
Lovely. Really nice. I tend to do a bit of that, feathering. I also like to sometimes paint just a few little pieces on there. Obviously not going to the root on a brunette, but get a little face frame of balayage really soft in there.
Gorgeous.
And then let the colour run through it after I've rinsed that part of it. And that always gives you a nice little light tone.
Yeah.
Obviously not too much, because then she becomes a blonde. And I don't know a brunette that comes in to be a brunette that wants to go out blonde. But,
you never
these
know.
things happen.
You don't know, do you? But again, it's thinking about like the imagery, going back to that. Sorry, I keep talking about it, but it's just so important to me. So when we look at images, often, there are similarities between the blondes and the brunettes, actually. Like you'll find that the root is maybe slightly deeper.
Yes.
Around the face is slightly lighter. Maybe the tips of the hair are slightly lighter. And that is what we're doing is, we're simulating the effect of natural hair in the sun, whether it be red, blonde, brunette.
Yes.
So we do that when we do our blondes. We do balayage, we do this gorgeous lighter ends, and we do lighter around the face. But then you see someone doing a tint and it's just brown everywhere. Whereas, we still want to simulate that idea and that illusion with our richer and deeper shades.
I love that. I love that analogy that you've just done, that it's like we do it on blondes and basically it's why don't we do it as an industry on brunettes? And if we did spend a little bit more time on it and a deeper thought process and talked and communicated to the brunettes what we're doing, maybe not so many of them would do their hair at home.
Totally. Well, they won't be able to do that, will they?
No. Well,
unless they start watching videos.
Yes, unless they're on YouTube.
On their YouTube. Yeah, it happens, but
It does. It does. So that's lovely. So in your salon, in your new salon, where's your price point for a tint?
So our price point, we've got different prices depending on the level of stylist.
Yes.
So we're starting at I think it's something like £70.
Right.
Starting at. And then we're doing kind of little add-on deals where we add, if we want to do a tint amongst maybe balayage or a tint amongst highlights or something like that.
Absolutely, people do that. But
Yeah.
if we go back to the tint, so that's £70.
Yeah.
But that gets you all of what you just talked about.
So we could do, yes, exactly that. So you would do, that's regrowth, and then that would then be that regrowth colour could be then balayaged or freehanded through the hair. Yeah, exactly.
So they're coming into you and they're getting a beautiful bespoke tint that isn't really a basic tint.
No, it's not at all. And we know that is going to fade out much better
than
something that's, as you said, slapdash being pulled through the ends, where it means that the hair's going to grab it unevenly. You're going to get fade that's going to be uneven. It's going to be patchy. You're not going to get that with something like this because of the way that it blends throughout the hair.
That's beautiful. And you're doing virtually all the work on that as well. So the assistant is shampooing, obviously, which is an incredibly important moment at the backwash. But the majority of the work is done by you all the way through, or one of your team members is doing that work.
Yeah. And then we would also do, imagine you're leaving some of the hair out when you're pulling through some of that richer shade. When we then go to shampoo, we would then still use maybe a toner on the hair that we've left out.
Now, do you say toner or do you say glaze?
So I say colour wash, but I said toner because because people know what that is. So that's what seems to be kind of, that's, around the world, people seem to understand that. But we call it a colour wash.
Lovely. I'm glad to hear that you've incorporated into a very modern looking salon, you've incorporated lovely modern language into it that actually sounds much sexier, doesn't it? Colour wash.
I like the word sexy,
Yeah, and I think clients like the word sexy too,
Do you know what's quite interesting though? So toner, as I said, it is used, a lot of hairdressers do use the word toner. We know what it means between us, but actually the client often doesn't. It's always the one where you go, I'm going to mix a toner, or you hear someone saying, I'm going to mix a toner. And then the client goes, what does that mean? And I think they often think, it means something's gone wrong or something.
I think it does. I mean, usually alarm bells ring when I hear the word toner. And then I see a client's like, what's happened? And part of the conversation about modern hair colour is really about the fact that colour washes, glazes are an essential part of the service. That you can only do so much with the permanent hair colour, and then it's the second step within the service that you're offering. It's not to correct what you've done wrong.
No.
And I think that's why that language, toner, has such a terrible connotation, because it's always about something's gone wrong. So I think language is really important, isn't it, to communicate? So when you're doing your consult, what language do you speak in?
So I will speak in a language that the client understands. Basically, at the end of the day, you want them to understand what you're saying.
Absolutely.
And everything I say, I will use imagery to then bring it back to what I mean. So if I'm meaning I want to take it lighter around the face, or I'm taking it warmer, warmer can mean so many things to so many different people.
Yes.
I will show and indicate what warmer means to me. And I will also get the client to do the same. So if they're going, I want to be red, I'll say, please show me what reds do you like? That's when I'll suddenly realise that they meant gold.
Yes.
And I need to put my, my red shades down, throw it away. So that would be really important to me. I will start talking about them as a person. So I don't often like to talk too much about trend. Like, I like trend because it gives us ideas.
Yes.
But I am all about creating something for the individual, and we can, use a trend as inspiration, but, at the end of the day, we need to make sure that whatever we're producing or what I'm producing is going to suit the person that I'm doing it on. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So it will always go back to them.
So we're talking language and trend. And one of my feelings really is that that clients over the age of sort of 35, 40, and I can obviously speak to someone being over the age of 40 at least, they want to feel relevant. Yeah. But I don't think they want to necessarily feel trendy. I myself want to feel fashionable and relevant.
Yeah.
How do you communicate that kind of language to a client? Because it's sort of a fine line, isn't it? It's sort of trend, relevancy. You can tell when somebody feels that they've sort of disappeared off the viewpoint of everyone. And you want, really, those are the kind of women that come to the salon and can spend a lot of money in the salon. How do you talk relevancy?
To be honest, when it comes to hair trend, I won't necessarily talk about that, but I find that people can relate to maybe style trend a lot more, because what will happen is, as we know, something will hit the runway, and then when it's hit the runway, it will then come to the high street.
Yes.
And even if someone isn't necessarily following a trend, they're still buying stuff from these shops, and without even knowing it, they're wearing something that's related to a trend.
Absolutely.
So I will often, again, when I'm coming, into the consultation, I will use these questions to help me decide on what's going to be the best tone for them. So what colours are in their wardrobe? What colours are they wearing on their nails? What colours are they wearing on their lips? All of these things are really good indications to me on whether or not certain colours in their hair will work, but also, fundamentally, are they cool or warm?
Yes.
And where do I need to work with my hair colour, or the majority of the hair colour? So I don't necessarily need to be as black and white as that and say, yes, what is the trend? You must have this trend, or let's make you have this because of this. But I will be definitely looking at elements that they have within their wardrobe, within their styling, and then I will use that to influence what I then produce on their hair.
So I think that's brilliant. And I totally get that fact that somebody might say, I am not trend driven, I am not this, I'm not that, yet they're wearing the latest piece from Zara, or they've got the hot skirt from M&S, or it's the nice little number from H&M, whatever it is. Because for me, as far as looking at trends and looking at what is happening, I always turn to American TV shows, American current cinema, as long as it's not, you know, a Marvel comic or a historical drama. And I turn to the Instagram pages of Zara and all of those things, because that hair is generally what the kind of clientele that I want to see want. And because I do consider myself a high street hair colorist, I don't think it is a way to, you know, put somebody down. I believe that I work behind a chair. It just happens to be on Brompton Road in Knightsbridge, but I work behind the chair. The issues that I come across, the majority of people that are going to listen to this podcast, they're coming across those too, aren't they?
Yeah.
So I always feel like those kind of things is where I can pick up the trends. Instagram is, you know, hugely important to us in our industry, and everyone seems to be on it. In fact, I spend way too much time on it.
Oh, God. I think I've got RSI.
Yes, I think I've got that too.
I like to say it's from all the hair that I'm doing, but I think it's from Instagram flicking.
But it's amazing how many clients come in and they've saved images. So obviously Instagram is really important to us as an industry and as business people, small businesses, which we are, and which I'm no doubt the majority of people that are listening in are small businesses looking to, you know, keep on top, discuss ideas, that kind of thing. How does Instagram work for you in your business? And how, it's a two-pronged question.
Oh my God, I hope I remember them.
Exactly. How does it work for you in your business, and how do clients use Instagram when they come into you?
So, because I've moved from a big company to a small company, before I didn't necessarily have much to do with the client bookings, so I can't really speak for what was happening there. But I was actually quite shocked when I opened my business at the amount of people that Instagrammed me to then book an appointment. The majority of our bookings at this moment in time are coming via our Instagram, which is phenomenal.
I have loads of direct messages all the time, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, how do I respond to this? Or do I just put, you know, at Paul Edmonds, and hopefully they'll go back to them? Because it suddenly becomes consuming, doesn't it? Yeah,
no, it does. That's like, I'm literally, you know, and it's great. And you want people to, you know, try and book an appointment, but it's just a completely different way, you know, that I was expecting.
Yeah.
I think the reason why that is working is because we use our Instagram to, you know, show work that we're doing in the salon on that day.
Yes.
And what I would do is I will break down what services have been done. So I would say this client has had full head of balayage, a reconstructive treatment, you know, a colour wash and a cut and style, etc., etc. Then the client will then reference that image.
That's nice.
Use that image and then direct message us with that image and say, I would like this. It's also very helpful because then we would then ask them, what does your hair look like now? So then they will then send us pictures of their hair now. So then, you know, I know it's
really
like a
time
mini consultation.
Isn't it?
It really is. Yeah. So, you know, but it's really helpful because we, you know, as much as we would like to have every single person come in and have a consultation, at this moment in time, we're not doing that with every single person. So it's our way of being able to do a mini consultation before them, you know, without them having to come in.
To manage it.
Some clients don't live nearby, so it's harder for them to come in. So that's how we've decided to manage it. So we've done not only that, but we then also send them like a consultation form.
Yes.
So they then fill in this form before they come and see us, and it will have questions relating to stuff that's in their wardrobe, nail varnishes that they wear, what images that they like, you know, key questions like what do they love, what do they hate about their hair, and then it gives us a really good indication of where we need to go or move forward.
So you've set something up in place, really, haven't you? I think I've noticed a lot of the American hairdressers on Instagram have done this whole thing. If you're going to DM me about an appointment, most of them are saying don't do it, but the ones that are talking about it are saying that they want clear images, obviously no filter, which must be really hard for some people because their life on Instagram is filtered.
Yeah.
Hair in sunlight, 2-year hair history. They've got all this going on. And I suppose really we can't alienate people from coming in. We want to encourage people to come in. So we have to work with it, don't we?
Yeah, we do. But it's before that, you know, we wouldn't have been able to know what they were having at all.
No.
And it does show how we're evolving. Because I think, you know, even when I've been hairdressing for 16 years. And at the, you know, my first clients that I were doing, it was very basic, I would say, not just because I just learned, but that was also the expectation of clients was smaller, I think.
Yes.
So you could book someone in and know that you'd get it done in 45 minutes and you'd be fine. Like that's kind of like,
but it's not like that anymore,
is it?
It's not
like that anymore. No. So we need to know a lot more about the person to get the booking correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I'm a big, I really do support that. I think because we want to gain clients, we want them to feel comfortable to come in. We want them to feel comfortable to communicate. So as much conversation that you can get, happening before they've even arrived is great, I think.
So really, basically really your online job has just got much bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It has. But, it's fun. I'm enjoying it.
Well, as you should. I think new businesses are really exciting and also really scary at the same time.
Yeah, a combination of the two. But yeah, definitely. It's very exciting and it's great because you can obviously look at issues and then go, I want to deal with that. And I'm going to deal with it this way, So that's what's been great about it. I
have sort of said nobody can have a booking without a consult.
Yeah.
And generally that means that they need to come in.
Yes.
And have that. But of course, the reality is that some people see you on Instagram and they live miles away.
Yeah, they do.
And that's the other thing, isn't it? You don't necessarily need an advertising budget anymore.
No.
Your Instagram page is that.
It's amazing.
I've been doing Skype consultations or FaceTime consultations after I've got the images sent to me in clear light and everything. And so then I could do one of those.
Yeah.
And then I send them off to a local salon and get them allergy alert tested. And they have to take a picture of it and that kind of stuff. It's not ideal. But the reality is that we need to make ourselves accessible to people.
Yeah, we do. Because, if they can't do it, then they won't come. That's that. And, and at the same time, we don't want to, risk anything by just going, come, that's fine, whatever. But, we're doing everything in your power to make sure that it's as easy for them and, it works best for you.
Absolutely. Because there's nothing worse than having a busy day and then it all being booked in wrong and it all falls apart around you. I mean, it's disheartening.
It really is, and you want to make sure that everything that you do and you produce is, to the best of your ability.
Absolutely. And then this experiential age, I can't believe I even managed to say that, but in this experiential age, it is people want to feel, not just have great colour, they want to feel something, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
And that's into the salon and the salon environment, so everything has to run even better.
Yeah, it really does. And it is going back to the experience, that is part of it, otherwise, if they're not gaining a great experience, then they will just do it at home.
Absolutely.
It's comfortable. They can watch, I don't know, something on Netflix and put the tint on and get brassy hair.
We love a bit of brassy hair while watching Netflix. So do you think that although we have to go the extra mile in the sense of the way in which we communicate with people and things we do you think it is in the long term easier, or do you think it's just harder?
I think in the long term it is easier, because you're gaining the trust from a client, aren't you? And once you've built a relationship, that's not easy to lose, unless you do something awful.
Unless you don't do what we've already talked about today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, if you, when it's a fact, after someone's been to visit you, I think it's up to 4 times. After that, they're yours pretty much. They're going to be much more loyal to you than they would be if they came one time. Yes. So yes, there is a lot of groundwork going in there, to ensure that they're happy and that they're understood and they're being listened to and all of these things. And you're, giving them the best colour that you can. But that is just building the foundation for beautiful relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And beautiful hair colour as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So with your consultations, if they come into the salon, do you charge for your consults?
So we currently do complimentary consultations.
Yeah.
So, which is why we would like to do as much as we can prior. So with the consultation forms online, etc.
Oh, you've got them online, have you?
So we will email them. Yes, exactly. So once they've made their booking, we send them the consultation form. They fill in all of that, which is done online.
Yeah.
And then we receive all that information. Then it flags up if there's anything that looks like it's not possible.
Love that idea. I think that's really, really cool.
So we had someone the other day that had just booked, she just wanted highlights. And I just, I was asking a few questions, do you want it like this? Do you like this? She's like, no, just classic highlights. Anyway, I'd sent it the form. Next time I read the form, and basically apparently she had a green tone in her hair, which is one of the things that she didn't like about her hair, which you can understand why, which then flagged to me that maybe there was something on her hair, which thank God we did that, because actually it was a tone that needed to be removed in order to get that gorgeous, gorgeous blonde.
And was it chlorine or water?
She had said she'd been to a spa. So I don't really know.
It's a mineral thing,
like,
probably.
yeah, but it was green, and I don't know anyone that's worked with green. It goes more green.
It does go more green, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what you use on it. It's hard to get it out. I had a client who had a lot of mineral deposit in where she lived, and it's a new build as well.
Okay, yes.
And her hair was electric green.
Yeah,
from that, and it's just so
it's
hard
the worst.
to get out.
If you love green, great, and you're aiming
Actually,
for green.
sit in a beautiful green
I'm
suit.
actually wearing green. That's the funniest thing, but I love it, you know, and I don't need to try and bleach it out, so it's fine. So it's okay for me. But yeah, no. So that was a really good way of us being able to stop that awful thing that could have happened on a Saturday.
Yes.
You know, we made sure that she had incredible hair. We had, you know, the time in order to deal with that situation. So yes, we do the consultation online, really good for the imagery. When they come into the salons, when they come to Rose and Wild, they sit in the consultation area, which is it's made to feel like home. So as I mentioned, it's about feeling comfortable and cozy and
safe
and away from the busy area of the stations.
Yes.
So it's just you and them having a conversation like you and me are, you know, Jack, but on a sofa and a swing and a neon sign.
It's the swing that just gets me.
Yeah, just get on this. Everyone loves getting on that swing.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. So within that zone, that's when we then start to have a real conversation about them and their hair hopes and their hair dreams.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And it's the dream, isn't it? In the consultation, it's finding out what the dream is and then being able to plan about what's achievable and what isn't in that moment.
Exactly.
But I think women do need to feel safe to talk 100%. About all the things that they hate.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I talk about a lot is that so many hairdressers get so uptight and taking it all personal when a client starts talking about that, you know, low lights don't work and this doesn't happen and that doesn't happen. And I always try and say to people, don't worry about what the client's saying. Let her get it out because she's giving you so much information.
Totally, yeah.
And just because a low light went wrong with another technician, you'll probably have the tools not to get it wrong. Not to
do it.
Yeah.
And also, like, as you said, she may not have said all these things to her other colourist or her other stylist.
You don't know, do you?
And that's great. So if I know someone doesn't like this, I'm just not going to do that. Like, you know, I'm going to do it in a way that's going to ensure that it doesn't end up in the result that she was unhappy with.
Brilliant. That's great.
Also, to be honest, I'm kind of like that once I've done someone's hair as well. Like, you know, sometimes we do someone's hair and everything about it is perfect. Sometimes I finish someone's hair and I think actually maybe it could have been a bit cooler there or a bit whiter there or a bit brighter or lighter or darker or what have you. And I'm quite honest about that when I'm with my clients. I say next time, you know, I'm going to make the front a bit brighter or next time I'm going to do this. And I think it's a great way of like me learning and growing myself as a colorist, but also it's then talking about their next appointment with
you're sowing a seed, aren't you? You're sowing a seed, and it's like, and that becomes the journey, doesn't it? So we can take this brighter, we can do this, and I think that's a great little game plan. Let's go back to Instagram.
Yes.
So what does your Instagram account say about your salon, do you think?
So I think...
First of all, what is the name?
Oh, yes. So the Instagram name is @RoseandWildHair.
Fantastic.
The whole idea is that we're not only promoting the hair that we do, but we're promoting the feeling that you gain when you come to the salon.
Right.
So the salon is very pastel. So if you've not seen it, there's a lot of pastel pinks, a lot of pastel lavenders, a lot of pastel everything, basically.
Instagrammable.
It's very Instagrammable. So the same kind of colour and palette filters through the Instagram page. So every image will have some kind of colour that will mimic that.
Right.
We then have hair that we've produced, which is consumer-focused wearable hair, be it balayage, or it could be a pastel wash, but it's worn in a consumer-focused way.
Talking about pastel washes, of course, that fantastic image you did a couple of years ago in New
stop
York.
It.
And it was violet and lilac, wasn't it?
Yeah,
but it was everywhere I went in the world, that image was there. So, you know, commercial hair colour is not boring.
No,
totally
not. No, 100% not. And it doesn't mean it's boring at all. Like if it suits someone, it looks incredible.
Absolutely.
And that's that. Like that's, you know, it's only if you do something and it doesn't quite work that it doesn't.
Then you don't photograph it.
Yeah, exactly.
Then it
you
never
turn
happened.
the light off, you lock the door and you walk away.
Sorry, I just had to throw that one in because I always think, when I think of you, I always think of that image. It's sort of, I identify you with that image.
Yeah.
And it was just so beautifully commercial that any woman would have wanted that, I felt.
I think for us at the time, it was a time when no one wanted to even step near something that was classed as a vivid colour.
Yes.
And I think now there's all these options and people are maybe a bit more open with their hair colour.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to show that using something that's more vivid and more playful can still be really beautiful.
Absolutely. And look expensive.
And wanted. And wanted, yes. I can't have it, unfortunately, but it's fine.
I can.
You can, yes. Yes.
So sorry, let's go back to your Instagram and what it says about you.
So yes, so the pastel
salon.
tones, definitely. We have hair that's wearable. It will be hair that's been done on our clients within our salon. So hair that could be achievable. And as I mentioned within it, we will talk through the services that we offer for each of those looks.
And do you mention your prices in that?
We don't put the pricing purely because we have different levels of stylists.
Right.
But at the top of our Instagram, it links to our price list.
Yeah.
So then they can then reference the words that we've used.
Good.
To then go back to the pricing and the relevant stylist. Each of the imagery as well it will say which stylist did it. So, you know, so if a client, we had that the other day where we had someone who'd seen an image, they saw who'd done the image, they wanted her to recreate the same thing on themselves.
Nice.
So that was great.
That's great.
It was fantastic because she ended up being like Miss Spain.
Oh, wow.
Well, so, you know, had a huge following. So just from one image that I posted on Instagram, within a week, she was in and then she'd reposted. And then, you know, we gained a lot more following just from that. So it's nice to see the actual comeback of social media.
Yes.
Because sometimes, you know, you're doing it yourself, especially if you're in a small business like I am, you feel like, is this a waste of time? Are people listening to what I'm doing? You know, but actually the people are always listening.
I think people are always listening. People are always watching.
Yeah.
Whether they're following you or not, they're always watching.
They're there,
Yeah. But I think that it's really, really important in this day and age to make sure that your Instagram account represents who 100%. You are as a business.
Yeah. Because I think as soon as it's confused, people don't know why to follow you or, you know, they don't understand what you are. And basically, as you said, it is your shop window at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
That's that. So for us, you know, being able to do that and for me to be able to do my own marketing for the moment is incredible. Like I think years ago, we wouldn't have been able to do that at all. Just via social media. Years ago,
we would have been looking for a local magazine, maybe, in the region, or the local, you know, Echo, or whatever it was, to get that. Whereas now we have so many platforms.
Totally.
So let's talk a bit more about social, I think, because I think everyone's fascinated by it, aren't they? Is it a numbers game for you? Are you worried about your numbers, or are you worried about interaction?
So we're a new business, so we don't have, you know, a really, really high number, but we've gained, you know, a lot of following in a small amount of time, which is great. But for me, as I said, as I've spoken about earlier, I want to see that I'm gaining new clients from what I'm doing.
Yes.
To be honest.
How do you manage that? How do you track that?
We're doing an offer at the moment, actually, where people have to quote, they get percentage off their first visit.
Yeah.
And they have to quote Wild 30. This offer is only being placed on our Instagram. So whenever we sometimes post on our stories and we sometimes post on our imagery.
Yeah.
And this is just for this month only. It's just so I can monitor how many people are actually looking at the images.
Oh, cool.
And then also it's gaining us new clients as well.
Right.
And as I mentioned, we've had just as soon as I do that on a story, I can guarantee that I will get DMs straight away from people trying to book in, quoting Wild 30.
Yeah.
So I know, you know, I've got good peace of mind that it's working and people are listening.
That's good.
I may need to change it here and there, and that's, I think, what's important, because social media is a great platform, but it's always changing.
Yes.
You know, the time of day you should post changes, what kind of content you should post is always changing, what you should be hashtagging is always changing. So I think it's always good to reevaluate what you're doing and not just, you know, do the same thing constantly.
No, I look at mine all the time and see what works, what doesn't work. And, for me, I as you know, I've changed mine because a huge part of my business is education as well.
Yeah.
So I've changed it to more conversations with the community about application and the 4 gestures, as well as pictures of pretty girls as well, which helps. One of the hardest things for me to do is to get images.
Yeah.
We don't have a space to do that. So I can do that in Battersea, but I can't do that in Knightsbridge.
Right, okay.
When you built your salon, did you build it with space in mind for Instagram?
So yeah, we did. Yeah. So we're very lucky. We've got 2 massive windows at the front. So it means that where our Instagrammable area is, we have loads of natural light. I appreciate we're very lucky. Like, it's very rare that you could get that in London. But we then also have a space which is to the back of the salon where we use a ring light, and then we've got a plain wall, basically. Right. Everything else is colourful, so we know which one is going to be used for the image that we're going to gain for the social media, because it's white and it's got a ring light there, and we're off.
Cool. Do you have somebody trained specifically in the salon to take your pictures? Like, I know a lot of people now who have got, young assistants coming up who are so good on social. And in fact, I got a couple of people at work who are just amazing. I'm like, give them the phone and they're like, this angle works better than this angle. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so clever. Do you have young people doing that? Or have you found, I mean, you're much younger than me anyway. Have you found that you've got the time to do it?
I'm very young and I'm doing it.
Yeah, are you very young and you do it? How's it working? Tell me.
So currently, at the minute, I've been doing it. So I've been working with our team. So anytime, obviously sometimes I'm busy, but every time I'm free there and they're free, then we are spending time literally just taking pictures of each other. Which
and the purpose of that is
so that we can gain what type of image looks good, or what angles look good and what looks bad. Even though the hair's not done, it's just giving us a good indication of what we would do for certain types of people.
Absolutely.
What we're also doing is we've got a training day booked in, where we're not only going to be training, but we're going to training on doing the hair, but we're going to be working on gaining great imagery.
Yes.
So it's kind of like an Instagram day. So that's going to give us a day where we're going to gain content, which we can then use for our Instagram.
Yes.
But it's also then a great time where we have time between us to actually perfect what we're doing and take tips from each other.
It's so important, isn't it? Because I mean, I do content days now. And regularly do them where I've got somebody filming and I'm filming and we're looking at angles and trying to create a signature look for your brand. I think is really important.
Totally.
And just playing around with it in a sort of an environment where you're not charging someone and then asking, can you take a picture, and trying to get back to your next client. It's so hard. Difficult. It's really hard, isn't it?
And, when you rush taking a picture...
It shows.
It shows. And actually, whenever I've done that, I think I'll just quickly just do this. I then get on, get in the taxi or get on the train or wherever I'm going. I look through my pictures and then I go, oh, look, there's a water bottle in the background. Or, I don't know, there's why has that person just walked past? Or, I don't know, just something ridiculous has happened in the picture, or her eyes blinking. Or
that moment's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone.
The client's left. I can't see her now for another 8 weeks. No. I've not gained an image, which, as I mentioned earlier, is really important and fundamental to me gaining new clients at the minute. So time is definitely needed. A really good way I've actually found, and it doesn't work with everyone because it depends on how confident the client is. I have left my phone with them and then asked them to take selfies in front of the ring light.
I think that works better.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
I did a campaign with Zoe Irwin, and we did this Balayage campaign, and the images that were created by the photographer were fantastic, and they were definitely, spot on. But I took my ring light with me to that, and I gave them all, after they'd done their different sessions, my phone and do selfies, and they were extraordinary, because they were a little bit more... relaxed, and it's just how she felt sexy, and so that came across more. And that's something that I've been doing with influencers that come in and stuff like that. I've been getting them to take the pictures themselves rather than me trying to get a contrived pose from them.
And because when you're trying to do it, we want it to feel lived in.
Yes.
And when someone's just standing rigid in front of a phone, it's not that real, is it? No, whereas someone
is like deers in a headlight, isn't it?
We've done all sorts of things. Like I had someone shaking a pillow in the background the other day, trying to get wind in there.
A magazine might have helped. It might have been a bit stronger than a pillow.
Do you know? Oh my God, that's so ridiculous. Why didn't I think of a magazine?
Yeah. But in the moment I was trying. Yeah.
Pillow was there. My God. Okay, we'll get rid of the pillow. I found when it's just them doing it themselves, obviously they know their real angles,
So
like
it's
they're
more
good
authentic.
angles, and it's authentic. Their hair's moving, their body's moving. It's.
So this is one for you, and I struggle with this. I feel like I struggle with everything, really, to be honest.
I don't think you do.
But it feels
You're
like
doing
that.
all right, Jack.
Well, thank you. So they've got this great blow dry that they say they want it to last them for, the next night or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that's not really the picture you want to take, is it?
No, yeah.
You want an Instagram hair. And so I know that a couple of the sites allow, like, do you want Instagram hair, Jack, or do you not want it? And I feel like that there are so many things you have to do with a client, and this is where it becomes difficult for me. First of all, they're paying a load of money.
Yeah.
And, so there's the whole, can I take a picture of you, can I not kind of thing. And I understand that some people don't want it. Even if it's great colour, they might let me take a picture of the back. But then it's like the blow dry. And for it to really work on Instagram, I think it's either got to be a little bit more sort of airy.
Yeah.
Like Zoe does her hair. Zoe always does her hair quite airy, doesn't it? Because if it's too tight, it just doesn't work. And I feel like when I'm doing content days, the more I work with the hair, obviously it gets better and better and better, but you can't really do that with the client, can you?
Yeah.
It's a whole, how do you approach it?
I think, well, to be honest, it's because it's one of those things, I think to me, this is how I visualize it. So a picture that speaks to a client is like lived in hair.
Yes.
Whereas a picture that speaks to a hairdresser is normally more sculptured.
Yes.
Because we appreciate the skill set to achieve that wave or, achieve that placement. So how you would take it is very different. But what I tend to do is I will find out from the client, what we're going for.
Yeah.
And if they're happy for it to be shaken out. If they're not, then I would then produce something that's going to be more targeting.
Right.
A specific type of person, what I mean by that is, they are completely different. So I know
They
which.
are.
So generally for me, I would say on my personal accounts, my Instagram @Shivy is more for the hairdresser or colorist, because I do education as well. So everything I put on there will be something that I'm trying to speak to the colorist.
Right.
Everything that we put on our Rose and Wild hair is for the client.
Speaking to a client.
Yeah. So that's kind of, obviously I have two accounts, so I can put one there and one there. But it's just thinking about, who are you targeting? And then maybe, the catchphrase that you put with it will need to be relevant to...
Well, yeah, I mean, hashtags and everything are so important, aren't they?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I think that when I talk about it on Instagram, because my account, like I say, does talk to a lot of hairdressers on there. And I know it's such a cliche to say it, but the struggle is real.
Yeah.
It's capturing images from the salon. Yeah. It's so difficult. And I just think that, is it because I'm just slow at this and that I'm not deft? Or is it because I can't get the client in the right pose? Or does the hair never speak to me? Like, it speaks to me when I look at it, but when I look at it on camera, it doesn't speak to me. It's so hard. And I think that the other thing, of course, if you're running a business, you don't want your staff spending 30 minutes trying to capture that perfect image. And clients are time poor. You actually want the stuff working.
Yeah, no, of course.
Don't you? Because to make money to pay the bills and everything, and for them to make money to pay their bills too. So it's really, I think it's such a fine line, and some people seem to do it so well.
I do know there are a lot of businesses that actually allow time after their appointment time to take these photos.
Right.
So you've got to just within your business or build it in if you feel it necessary.
Do you build it in yet, or
so
are you...
so we have like a little bit of extra time. We haven't said it specifically for that, but we do allow ourselves that bit of extra time.
And how long are you giving yourself? You give yourself 30 minutes,
so
40 minutes, an hour?
It's about 30 minutes.
You do need 30 minutes, don't you?
It's because you've got to think, if you were on a campaign, you're doing a campaign shoot, the photographer doesn't come and take one photo and leave.
No.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
That would be amazing.
It would be like, okay, lunch, yeah. But, so it's the same when you're trying to get a great image on your phone.
Yes.
It's going to be the same, if not harder, because you are not, we're not photographers, yet.
It's about to be a qualification that you need to hit to get your
I think
MVQ3.
so, yeah. I can see it coming, definitely. But so I think time is needed, or like what you raised, actually having someone within your salon that can be that go-to person, that runs and works with doing the imagery at the end once you finish the hair.
My American friends all seem to do it really, really well because they have tons of staff.
Right, yeah.
And there, of course, in the States, you have to go to school.
Yeah.
You don't train in a salon or anything like that. So they've all come fully licensed, and then to work in a good salon, you're assisting. And so they're all working on that. And you might have 4 or 5 assistants for one person, and they can do that. But of course, it's much harder in the UK to find it all. But I think that we have to find a way, don't we?
Yeah,
really.
well, as I mentioned, it's really, really, really key to gaining clients. I do think the majority of clients are going to social media to find their new hair colorist, to book their new hair color. So, it is essential to the business, not just to have a beautiful account. It's not just about that. It's actually gaining new business.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's the point of it, isn't it, really? It's not just... it's not just an ego thing. It's actually part of your business.
Totally.
So I'm going to ask you, which one? Facebook or Instagram?
Instagram.
Do you use Facebook?
Yes, we do have it for the business.
Yeah.
We get less feedback from Facebook.
Yeah.
But I don't know why. But we do post a lot on there. But it's just because at the minute I'm trying to find out what's happening. Do you have a Jack Howard Facebook?
Yes, so I have one for that. I made a terrible mistake on that. I'd been in India working, and I did a sponsored post in India to attract people to the post that I was doing. Right. And I ended up with 4,000 Indian guys following me, thinking I'm a pretty girl. Went terribly wrong. And even this morning, one of them said, "Oh, so beautiful," and I was like, "Oh dear." What do you do?
So you're getting following, but maybe not the following that you need to build that business.
Not the right one.
Okay.
But I mean, I do use the Instagram page because it's great for when I'm doing education events and I can do sponsored posts around the region. Yeah. But my go-to is Instagram as well, like you. Mm-hmm. That's cool. Yeah. And finally, Siobhan, as we're not quite ready to close up, but finally, young people, getting young people back into the industry. Yep. We know that the industry as a whole is really struggling. I kind of think it's the way we train them, the way they treat it in the salon, the way we pay them. But obviously it's easy for me to say that because I don't have any staff. It's just Jack Howard and all the staff.
Your staff's great.
Yeah, my staff's great.
Always behaving themselves.
Everyone's on a gig economy with me. But so, first of all, do you have any assistants in the salon?
We do. Yes, we do.
Brilliant.
This was an area, again, it's a small business. So I wanted to wait until I could find the perfect person. Yes. And luckily she came. So that's great. I mean, I think it's important to have we want to be training people within the industry.
Yes.
Without doing that, we're not going to the industry isn't going to last for very long, is it?
No, it's not. And I think that the harder it is to find assistants, the current model that we have of assistants and then doing everything for, the senior staff and everything. Yep. It can't support it. No, it becomes really hard. And I know that lots of people are struggling. So carry on, tell me. Yes, so we will have someone and we basically will ensure that we're giving her enough training. Yeah. A lot of it is based on training. And to be honest, we will be kind of working with her in all areas of the business. So I think typically, an apprentice or an assistant would be the person that came, swept the floor, washed the hair, and then that would be kind of it. Yeah. Whereas we're kind of making responsibility a little bit higher in regards to showing them how to be kind of front of house. Yes. So they gain skills that are going to actually be really, really valuable to them when they do become. Well, it's funny because when I trained, which was a long, long time ago, I had to do front of house as well. Yeah. But I still feel that I can greet somebody when they come in, obviously. Yeah. But I also feel I can take a cup of coffee downstairs or bring one up and sweep up and clean up. And, God forbid, I even actually wash a bowl occasionally. Yeah, And I always wash my tint brushes because, they're sacred. So are you encouraging all your team members to take a bigger role in looking after the whole general well-being of each other? So everyone does everything. Yeah. It's very rare you'll see someone sitting on their ass. It's kind of unless they're on their break. What's a break? What's a break? They can have breaks sometimes. But no. So we do encourage everyone to do everything because actually I think that's how I learn. Yes. And that is how I've been able to open a business because I know every area within the business. Yes. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I was only singly taught how to do one thing. Right. So I think it's really important within the industry, whether you want to
working within that area or not, it's really important that you learn it. And I think from the beginning, that's kind of what we want to encourage.
So are we going to see you out in schools talking to young people about how wonderful this industry, how diverse it is? Are we going to see you doing that anytime soon?
We definitely, 100%. I think it's a scary time for us because we are all aware of the issue that we have in trying to find people to join our industry.
Yes.
And it's crazy because I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't have done this. And I sit with my friends at dinner and all of them pretty much, they're all pretty jealous of my job, to be honest, because I love it. I get paid well, I enjoy going in.
Yes.
I'm happy. I get to meet people. I constantly have people telling me how happy they are with the result of what I've done.
Yeah, we're one of the very few industries where we get fantastic feedback most of the time.
Yeah, we do.
So people don't complain, do they, like that?
So it's incredible. And then there's so many different kind of avenues that you can go down.
Yes.
Whereas I think in a lot of, industries, you are kind of...
That's it.
And you're doing that and that's it. Whereas, I didn't always think I wanted to open a business. It's just as my mind and my kind of thoughts have changed, I've been lucky enough to be able to change with it within the industry that I'm doing.
It's brilliant. It's not a job though, is it? It's a lifestyle.
It is a lifestyle. Yeah, definitely.
That's great. Well, thank you very much for coming in for episode 2, Siobhan.
Thank you for inviting me.
Great talking to you and best of luck to you with your new business.
Thank you very much.
So I hope you enjoyed this podcast as much as I did making it for you. Don't forget to subscribe on your channel that you download your podcasts from. iTunes is my favourite, but I know there are others out there. And also, if you want to follow me on stories on Instagram, it's jackhowardcolor, COLOR, the American way, not the English way. And on Facebook, it's jackhowardcolor, COLOR. And my website is www.jackhowardcolor, COLOR.com.